Yeah. So,
Hey, well, welcome to the Dream Labs, Dr. Contrast Live. I'm really excited to be back on board here today. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to work with this process. And boy, what caught me by surprise yesterday in the stream was the fact that we went through a series of little variations on some computer or PC tower studies. And lo and behold, as a result of the end of the day, we got some pretty good feedback on some direction and maybe some possibility of refining some sketches. So what I thought I'd do today is go back and look at what we generated yesterday and go back and look at certain things in terms of maybe doing a couple of refinements and some variations on a theme, just to see what kind of exploratory work we can get accomplished today. And I think the real purpose of the stream today is, and I really mean this sincerely, that I'm really looking forward, if you're going to be tuning in, whomever's tuning in, to get some feedback from you about likes and dislikes and which way to take this thing once we move into the actual final rendering series of this whole process. I think we're going to go today with some refinements and maybe some adjustments to look at, and then tomorrow do some really drop dead, maybe some final illustration work based on the basic themes that you begin to favor or like as we go through the process today. So let's get at it here. And interesting start here. As we went through the variations on themes, let's start with this page, for example, yesterday, and we moved into a certain series of sketches like that. Just again, looking at how do we look at this case? What do we do with it? Because right now they're all barely rectangular, pretty static, and I know they've got a function to take care of. I'll get into that in a moment here. But just analyzing, what if we went a little more mechanical, sheared, a little more contemporary with this stuff? What do we have to do to make those facelifts come to life? So I think what's interesting about that is this is where we started. And then we did a second page here, for example, and we went into these. And then lo and behold, it was very interesting to find out that seemed to be the consensus of the people tuning in yesterday, that this one had a lot of flavor to it from a practicality point of view, to move some components around to get it to function and work. And secondly, this little vertical guy here with the two twin powers actually being air vents, so to speak, was another possibility for some potential cosmetic changes or revisions or variations on a theme. So let's go back. Let's look at this thing, and then we'll keep this in mind here as we go through the day. But I'm gonna go ahead and just start doing some variations on theme here. And again, ballpoint pen. We're gonna work with a ballpoint pen, a little bit of marker, a little bit of pastel, like we did yesterday. And hey, Silvertail, what's up? How you doing? Good to have you on board. Hopefully you saw the intro there at all or not. But we're gonna go back and look at a phase 2 thing here, and let me bring these back up here, Silvertail. We already had just a couple of sketches here put together on some PC tower pieces. And I think the consensus is, after going through a series of thumbnail sketches and some variations on theme yesterday, just looking at concept work, there seemed to be a real consensus to look at this guy as a possibility of going into another variation and refining it. And in this one, the small little thumbnail sketch here, this vertical system that we're dealing with to kind of work through some, again, variations on theme. So I'm going to spend some time today just going through some variations on both of these concepts and just start doing some real quick variation theme sketches based on that. Hey, Ballistic, how are you, man? Good to have you on board. Thank you so much for joining us. You were a big part of the process yesterday. So as we go through this, just doing my thing, fixing Chromebooks. Well, I hope you got it resolved, Silvertail. That's not fun to do. So But for both of you, please keep in mind as we go through the process today, love to have you get your input on which direction to take with this thing, because all of a sudden, as I said in the intro, got a lot of response on the fact that, geez, here's a couple of pieces here that might do some pretty cool stuff in terms of maybe going to manufacturing. I spoke to Shadow yesterday again this morning about the possibility of going through these themes and finding somebody that could actually manufacture this stuff for us. So let's go back and do some variations here on both of those systems. Let's take the very, what I refer to as the canted piece first. Let's go back in and just get this flat form filled. Let's just go through here and begin to look at some verticals. We're going to build the frame just a bit here, get this thing set up in perspective. Go back in and just begin to look at this beauty here. Drive it through. Let's turn this around. I'm sorry, very light, and just begin to pick this thing up. Let's go just some variations here on theme. There it is. Let's kind of break this thing up just a bit now. Come back out of this. Let's come back out of this. I'm going to break this. I'll just put a little bit of that same chamfer on it just to get some of that character back that we did initially. And then into this, and that's going to knock it out. And that's going to come back and knock underneath here just to kind of cut back, reduce the weight of this thing, and just draw through it. And let's pick up this. I'm going to pick maybe a nice little change of pace. Let's put a brow on this thing, a hood. Let's extend that out. Let's do this. And get that to kind of fall into place there. Therefore, there we are. Let's going to take that through. Let's take this on through. And just pick up a little bit of this base. Pardon me as I move this around just a bit. Again, real lucid sketches, nothing fancy. Just going to break that into place. Let's get that little chamfer in place here. Let's move this around here just a bit. Let's get this opening set up. A little bit of body thickness. And just basically put this together here. Let's come back through and pick up where that center line is. So we've got to see where that brow is. Got a little bit of protective brow on this thing. Probably as I turn the page here, we'll go through this guy, get some sidewall put in here. Again, let's recess this just too. Again, let's get this bevel to work. Run that through. And again, just maybe a little design strap here. A little bit of color accent. Let's take that on through. So there we are, phase one, and as a result of that, let's just add that to it. Let's get a bit of cooling system back in through here. And it's gonna just get that. There's a rough little study here of just putting it all together. A variation again on, remember now, we're going to work on this guy right here. Let's get these guys together here. This is taking off on this approach here. Get a little bit more bulk to it to get some packaging work to function for us. But at the same time, that same kind of reversing this angle a little bit. I'll go through some of those pieces in a moment here with some variation on a theme. And just get this started here. Let's kind of put this all together. Let's go back in and add a little bit of tone to this thing now. Like we did yesterday, just get some recess and some shadow work done here. Some contrast in here. Keep in mind too, gang. Let's see what happens here as we go along the line here. Add in place. Let's get a little bit of that color accent so we know where we're going to go with this guy. There's a little bit of a belt strap. It's got to put a little bit of flavor in this thing. Get that down into this. Hope that's on the screen there. Here we are. Just a little bit more flavor here, just a touch of color. Underneath, let's put a bit more recess in here. And let's go back to a lighter tone here. A little bit of shadow to drop in through here. That means I go back and reverse this back just a bit. And a little bit of underneath here, just kind of knock that guy out just a bit. A little bit of surface. That's all we need here. Let's put a little bit of shadow back into this thing. Drop this thing out just a bit here. So we can see where our light source is coming from. And again, a little bit of that sidewall right in through there. Now let's see what happens. Let's put a little bit of detail in this thing here. Some cooling vents. And then kind of recess it just a bit. Pardon me as I pull this back just a touch. There we are there. What do you think, gang, so far? I mean, let me know what you think in terms of what we're looking at here as far as concept goes. Hey, Chip, how are you? Thanks for joining us here today. We're just going back to some refinement things on the process we were dealing with yesterday, Chip. Looking at some very interesting little feedback systems on this whole process of putting these towers together. So let me just add a little bit of detail here. And we'll get that all set. There we are. Just looking at variations on theme here, Chip. We just got started looking at, I went back and reviewed some of these basic initial sketches we were working with here today. This is where we were yesterday in terms of the process we did. We did a page like so. We also did a page like so, but we picked some basic, to my surprise, it was a real theme generation search here that they really favored that look and then maybe this vertical look here. So I'm working on some variations on that, Chip, to bring up the speed here. So I just started the first little thumbnail study here. Let's put a little bit of this into it, just like we did yesterday. Let's put a little bit of highlight that takes the curse off of this newsprint here, just enough to kind of bring us through here. Put that in place. But let's see if that works out for us here. Let's kind of some hot spot in this guy. A little more interest. Just sketch through it. Just add a real good, strong white component or an accent piece. What do you think, gang? Does that make sense? Let's put a little bit more up on top here. It's good to have you on board, Chip. Hope you're doing well. What I've lost here is maybe a little bit of line weight, so I'll kind of bring that back into play here. Let's get this guy all set up. And again, just a little bit more impact, just to keep it nice and steady. So there we are, looking phase one, just looking at possibilities here of just how to treat this thing as a variation on a theme here. So snazzy TV, yeah, there you go. That's not a bad idea either, Chip. Good call, Chief. Glad you're on board. Really neat. So let's put a little more shadow in this thing. Another pass, maybe a little bit more detail. And I think the thing that I'm really going to be working with here today to kind of look at is, I realize there's a packaging system here that we're going to deal with. For example, we've got the power supply, we've got the motherboards to package. We've also got the video cards, for example, and last but not least, we've got the cooling system. So I think the idea of getting a different slant on the case itself is we can almost package these things and move them around. And I think once we find a really good solid theme, we can start doing that and keeping in mind that we've got some real estate to work with here and just try to look at new shapes and variations on theme that'll help us deal with this whole process of looking at a new case system for these PCs and the towers. Just going to run that through. And so there's phase one. In essence, let's do a little bit more tone here. Let's just get some of this off here. Let's put a little bit of shadow underneath this guy. And as I said in the beginning of the stream too, guys, as we go through this, let me know, keep me posted on what you think in terms of which direction to take. If we go back to the original, or some of these guys are striking the right chord, and we'll just keep that open here. So let's go into another variation here. Let's get the platform down, nice and easy, run that through, get the perspective frame in place. I think as I said yesterday, very important process. Bring it all together very lightly here to begin with. Now let's begin to taper this in. Let's reverse this just a bit. Let's reverse this just a bit. Let's draw it through here. Get this cant to come back just a bit. Kind of change the incline just a touch. Let's go back out of this paddle. Bring it around. Let's build off of that base. Some of those guys we had yesterday had interesting base structure on it. So let's do that to add that, just to see what we come up with here. Draw through it, find out where we are there, and just bring that into play here. There we are. Let's run this back over the top. Let's get that little separation here. Let's kind of put this in place. First of all, let's get that strap to work for us here. A little design feature we were looking at yesterday. Moving this thing around, so pardon me here, gang, for getting that to function. There we are. And that backside wall, just that insert piece. This could be the cooling system, might be the fans and so forth, and inside that, maybe vertically, we can package in some of the areas of, hey, Chip, most heat will be generated by the graphics card. Yep, you got it. Then it's the Chip 7 GPU is one brick. So it's easy to tuck in the corner, but there's 1,000 wires going. Yeah, that's true. Now, what's the theme? Well, the theme is much more of a new case system here, looking at a much more organic or less rectangular piece, or Silvertail, for this whole idea of getting into some of these PC towers. So we're looking at maybe a new approach to packaging, a new approach to maybe manufacturing and getting some systems put together. So I hope that helps to answer your question at the stage of the game here. And I realize we're looking at some packaging systems that will kind of alter alter some of the forms we're dealing with here. But that's the actual concept we're after now, is to get that to work for us here. So I'm going to go back in here just for a moment and get this kind of just to take in the advantage here of some of the. Now let's recess this guy. Bring this in. Bring this right around here. There we are. Bring that through. Now let's go back in and get this face in place here. There it is. There it is. Oops, let's see, okay, right there.
Yeah.
So accelerate secondary cooling back here. And the car generate all the heat and so forth. Let's put a little tone on this thing now that we did the first one. Let's put this into play. As I move this thing around a little bit, get some of the stain to work here. And again, the whole process today is to kind of go back and refine or put some variation on theme here about some of the things we were working with yesterday in that first pass of putting together some of these tower studies. So there we are. A bit of secondary stain in it, a little more reflective quality to it. A little shadow underneath the stilt or the stand itself. Same thing here. And again, a little variation in some of the cooling systems back here. There we are. So there's a basic start at it here, gang. Just kind of put some pieces together. And let's go back and get this tone again, the secondary piece on the inside here just a bit. A bit of a highlight there to kind of work with. Let's put a little bit of secondary piece in here. Let's do this. I'm going to move very, very thoroughly here to get some really impact in this guy to work for us here. Just got to get this. A little bit more reflective quality. Let's get this guy to kind of reflect back into itself here. Just a little bit of magic to this thing to kind of give it some personality. There's a little more definition in there. And there we are. Just going to get that to kind of function for us. Just going to put this a little bit more into a brow system here, a little more tone. There it is. That helps. Got that all set. Now a little bit of strap, it's an accent color to work with here. Come back down here. Silvertail, are you looking to hide the interior, open up with the windows? Just open it up a little bit, I think, Silvertail. That's a good point to work with. The windows are keeping a nice, maybe a nice smoke screen fascia on the thing to kind of open it up and give me a little more drama to it so it doesn't look so austere. So that says, hey, Ladislaus, man, how you doing? Thank you very much for joining forces here today. Hope I'm, was it Ladislas? I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. Here we go. Just going to put these guys together. Hope you're enjoying the process here. There's a comment there from Silvertail, just kind of looking at putting taking some of the curse off of the actual case being so mechanical looking, but giving a little bit more impact to it in terms of Probably some clarity. Clean drawings make me. Oh, very good. Thank you. Much appreciate the input there. But I think that's a good point there, Silvertail. Coming back in and leaving that window open so it doesn't look so. It's almost like a furniture piece, so it's not so ominous looking in the area that you're dealing with here. So let's kind of go back in there and add a little bit of some contour to this thing. A little bit of center line. A little variation up on top here. There it is. Now let's add a little bit of this tone to it now. Take the cursor off of the newsprint, just enough. Cover it up just a bit, put a little more color to it. Nice, clean, simple work. And I'm really glad you're on joining. I hope I pronounced your name correctly there. Just put a little bit of highlight back across this piece right here. That in there, just a little hot there. That contour is, there we are. More through here. A bit more through here. And hopefully that kind of takes it away from being so austere. A little hot spot there. And again there. Let's just take that right through. There you go, gang. Oh, hey, Ladislas, now follow. Hey, thank you very much for following. I really appreciate you taking the time to do so. It's been a real exploratory piece here. From yesterday's stream, we were doing a lot of just exploratory things on just PC cases, and lo and behold, I got some really interesting feedback in a couple of the directions. And just for what it's worth here, Ladislas, I went back in here, we did a page of studies such as these to kind of start the process yesterday. Went to a second page, getting into some more geometric or very organic or non-organic, but very shear-looking systems for towers. And again, and I realized too, there's going to be a lot of time spent on, okay, how do you package the motherboard, the cooling systems, all the bits and pieces were there. But I think if we find the right combination of being a little bit more sculptural piece of furniture, as opposed to being rectangular or very austere, we have a very good chance of doing some interesting things. So these are the two sketches I did yesterday, Ladislas. I hope I pronounce your name here correctly. So there we are there. And so there we go. And those are the two. So on those, well, let me go back. I'm sorry. Let me clarify something here. On that premise yesterday, when I wrapped up the show, we got a lot of feedback. Well, geez, not carry on with this. This is kind of an interesting little feature here. So I think the consensus from yesterday's group was the fact that we had this piece here, and that piece there has two variations on theme to kind of look at this new process for doing some PC casing work. So what I'm doing today is just carrying on phase 2, working with this as a theme and this one as a theme in just a moment, and we'll show you what's taking place. So here's a couple of starts here anyhow, where we are. Let me just go back in and clean up some things here. A little bit of hot spot on this guy, run it through. Run through here. And just a bit more, just a touch. I mean, I'm really expressive sketches. I mean, I really believe they're coming in here Ladislas for the first time. I'm a firm believer in putting a lot of very simple processing together. Build the sketches, keep them very lucid, keep them very constructive. Show your construction lines. Don't be afraid to build certain things. Each one of these guys have a platform to deal with. So that's the basic theme today. These are not finished renderings. These are idea sketches based on getting a new look for a PC case. So here we are. Let me go back. Let's go back into here again. Let's get that premise in. Let's get that volume set. Again, moving into like a 1-point perspective, a little bit of exaggeration. Let's kind of fly through this thing. Get the basic volume in. There we are. Now let's put some variation on theme here. Let's kind of break this thing up. Let's come back and pick up that same angle. Run that through, get that all set. Come back and through on the base. A little bit of that in place. A little bit of return spear. Let's drop this down just a touch. Let me come up on top here. I'm sorry. What you usually do on stream, I want to share with friends, telling what you. What I usually do, Ladislas, is I go through a whole series of things. If you go to YouTube, for example, everything I do here, at the end of the day, I export into YouTube. I've done everything from transportation design, architecture, interior space, product design. I spent 15 years of my career at General Motors design staff. It designs space tips and cars and teaches art. Yeah, I'm all over the place. So, but I think the best resource, I'm on Instagram as well, Jim Moore on Instagram. But if you go to Twitch TV, for example, or else YouTube, all my videos, what I'm done here today, I export everything into the YouTube so you can take a look at what I do. And I really appreciate you passing the word along to your friends to show a few of your creations. Doc. Oh, man, I could do that. Yeah, maybe at the end of the stream, I think, Chip, that's a good idea. But Ladislas, if you pass along the information to your friends, I really appreciate that. I'm trying to build an audience here with these kinds of things. I don't see an awful lot of things being done in terms of the rocket powered pencil sharpeners. I should bring that one on, Chip. You're right. That's funny. But that's the main thrust, Ladislas. I want to build my audience, so it'd be very kind of you to pass along the word to your friends. And I usually post. I'm usually live on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I had to change a conflict today, or change the time schedule today because of a conflict in the meeting I have this afternoon. But usually it's Tuesday at 2:30, Wednesday at 4 to 5, and then on Thursday from 2:30 to 3:30. So that's my basic schedule. So again, I just stop right there and really thank you very much for all the stuff that didn't take the time to look at what I'm doing here. So let's carry on here. Any questions come up, please feel free. Let's kind of slant a little bit. Let's put a little bit of a drop in this, a little bit of incline. This is going back to that very basic first theme we were dealing with here. Let's put that really severe slant in place. That kickback, nice. Let's go back in again. Bring this down to square one. Now let's kick this back up on top here. Let's get that rear section working here. There it is. Now you think you'll see the relationship here very quickly with what I'm working with regarding to the first pass we did. It's a really interesting thing in terms of, there it is, very lucid sketch. Let's put this in place. There's the actual base itself. Again, let's kind of go back in here and just kind of get these guys to work with their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's reverse it. Get a little bit of seam line to work with here. In this case, there's not a lot of things to deal with here, showing that front. This is kind of moving around. Look at this. Just a little bit of variation on theme here. Let's kind of get this last one in place here. Look at the variation in theme from this guy to a little bit bulkier, a little bit longer, and a little stubbier, but nonetheless, really interesting stuff. You see you're drawing clean and cool stuff. Have you ever considered designing something that the only way I could describe would be akin to something the warmer 40K? Yes, I could. I would definitely consider doing that, Silvertail. Really cool stuff, no question. Happy to do that. So let's kind of put this in. And then turn it around the corner here. And let's just do this. Let's get that strap in place here. A bit of that color system. Let's run that right on through. There it is. A little bit of tone here. A little bit of that color strap there. Get that in place. Maybe just for a little change of pace here, let's try something else. Let's try this. Let's see if we can get this thing down to maybe the whole carbon fiber cap face on this guy. Put a shadow drop in here. No, so as I said yesterday when I was working on this whole process, I'm a firm believer, and I work with media, for example, especially marker. It is so volatile. I really like to think in terms of working very quickly with marker so that we don't get into a situation where we really foul things or mess things up in terms of being too busy with it. Let's put a little bit of highlight across this guy too. There it is there. And there we go. And just again, very spontaneous with it, but at the same time, maintaining the fact that all I want to do is illustrate what the shape is doing. Now, in this case, we had some window surfaces with the same process in front of your Silvertail. So, but just I just want to see what the proportion would look like when you rotate the view just a bit here to kind of move it with this, and then once we go back and do the same thing. See a little bit of this in place. Come back along this highlight line. Run that through and then get that base to kind of just crank on here for us. And then up on top, the reflected light. There we are. There it is. Down to that. And again, just kind of dusting in some really interesting stuff here. If we want to twerk, let's do this. One of the nice things about pastel is once you get that in, you can go back to highlight, right back to paper, and run that right through. And get rid of this. And there we are. So let's see if that works. And there's a series of 3 variations on a theme here that kind of work with the whole idea we had yesterday of putting this first generation PC series in place here. So there it is, gang. There's the first 3 we're going to deal with here. Let's kind of lock it in with a little bit of a phrase right here. Let's tie them together. A little bit of a line work here. There we are. So there's the first really good series, and not good series, but pardon me, I didn't expression there. The first really good look at some variations on theme based on that process we had yesterday. So let me stop right there for a second. What do you think so far, gang? Making sense? Am I clarifying and communicating all right? Again, the whole idea here is to really begin to think in terms of, we've got a box system here. We're going to go ahead and begin to consider the power supply has to be packaged, and the motherboard has to be in there, for example, video cards and the cooling systems. But I think there's a way to repackage this stuff. That top right one gets my vote. Yeah, I think this upper right hand side, this one here, Chip, that's pretty cool. Then again, it's also the bottom one. It's pretty close. It's another size. Yeah, I love the top right. Yeah, the top right I think has a lot of character to it. This gets a bit too busy and just almost the bonnet's really not necessary. And again, looking at a variation, nothing really set in stone here. But I think this is what I'm interested in looking at. We started here with a consensus here yesterday, and not drifting too far from the overall character. We get a little bit more of this, a little bit more. It's not as severe, but it has some real character to it. I think this gets back to it again. This goes back to the original piece. So I think you guys are running the money here with really love the top right. That's me too. I think that's a good variation of theme. So, all right, let's put those aside for a moment here. And just as a treat here, I'm going to go back in and let's look at the second one here. Let's go back and I'm going to start a fresh sheet here. This is going to be the fun part here. Now, let's go back and really get this monster to work here. Again, working with a frame. This is going to be what I call the Twin Towers. It's almost like the intake piece here. It reminds me of one of my fancy cases I saw at Dell's Design. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Phil. Let's get these guys in place here. Get the frame set up. Get the platform down. Just lock it in. Now let's put a bit of character to this thing. Now I'm going to come right back in and just start really nailing this beauty down. I'm going to get the tower here. I'm going to get a tower here. All of a sudden, there and there. I think you see where I'm going with this. Let's connect the dots. Let's bring it across. Let's take it back in perspective. A bit of depth to this thing. And let's go there. Let's kind of get this guy to, pardon me as I move around here quite a bit. Let me just stop there for a moment. And the reason why I moved the pad around and the paper around is very simple. That reminds me of fancy cases I saw at Dell. Yeah, the reason I moved the paper around is for a very simple reason, especially Ladislas. If you're there, Ladislas, I'm sorry. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Forgive me if I'm not. I'm moving around because I want to keep my shoulder free whenever I'm working with it. And if you don't have that to work, take care, Dr. C. Hey, thanks very much, Silvertail. Appreciate the input, and thanks for joining in today. Really great to have you on board. But from the drawing sequence, I just think it's too stiff. You keep it in one position. When you move it around, you're always maintaining your eyeballs at 90 degrees to the lines you're working with. So by moving it around an awful lot, maintains the integrity of the sketch. So that's why you see me go through a lot of motions here. And verticals. Let's get these guys into place. Let's take this back a little bit in perspective. Let's get the case set up here, the width. There we are there. Let's start to do the job for us. Let's tuck that back a little bit. Let's get this brake line in place. Let's just alter the upper. Let's drop that in. Let's just do this. Let's get that set up. Now let's even go worse. Let's kind of put a split line in this thing. Now. Let's drop that in. And before you know it, then we have a very, very strong vertical system here. Pardon me. Don't worry, there isn't a correct pronunciation. So here we go. Let's go back into here. We're going to maintain that. Now let's go back and split this. Let's run that through and split that. Let's pick this point of reference here and a point of reference there. Point of reference there and a point of reference there. Let's connect the dots. Let's set it back just a bit. One there and one there. And let's put a bit of, pardon me, let's put a weight in this thing. In these towers, cooling towers. There they are. And there and there. A little recess. And again, a little recess that they bury back inside those two apertures. So there's a pretty good, interesting little format there in terms of just a rough sketch in terms of putting together what this vertical. Now we're going to work on, let me go back and pardon me for not referring to this. This series of sketches now are going to come off of this theme that we generated here, this very vertical tower piece. So there it is there. Start with that. And we'll come back in and get this, keep this operating here and move along with it. Now let's go back in through here. I'm going to add a little bit of a strap system here. And just see a touch of it there, and a touch of it there. Bring this into play. And there we are. Now let's go ahead and get this thing set up here. Put a recess there. Get the first pass in. Notice again, we're working very quickly with this marker to not destroy the impact, but just get enough freshness in this guy to work here. A bit of recess. First put it in place. There we are there. Let's come back in and get just a little bit more of this in shadow. On top, down below. Let's try something else too. Let's put a little bit of tone in this thing so we can kind of see where we are here. Let's get another marker, see if that will kind of freshen it up for us here. That's better. Now that's going to get a little bit of some of this color accent in place here. There's a bit of it on that side. And since that's a bit in shadow down below here, we don't think it'll hurt our case at all to come back in and just get a little bit of tint in this thing. And there you are. That's all it's going to take there. Come back in and get a little bit of this. And last but not least, a little more impact on this thing. This is pretty straightforward, but has some presence to it, I think. Or my silencer again, just concentrating again this cavity in place here. What do you think, gang? There it is. Pretty awesome, I think, as far as awesome. Not, I mean, in that sense, but just in the presence of the scale of this thing. Let's see, Ladislas. How do you create such cool designs? It comes from all your mind, or you're taking some. No, this is all just conceptual stuff. Les, I'm just freewheeling it in terms of design and so forth. It doesn't really. I'm not mimicking anything. I'm just creating certain things, some ideas that phase one was, for example, yesterday's stream. Those are all just from the head. I mean, just conceptual thinking in terms of putting pieces together. That's all this really is. So hope that helps you answer your question. And again, let me clarify that too, so it doesn't become an absolute, like a foolish statement to make. The reason that comes about is over the years, my experience with industrial design, for example, transportation design at General Motors, and I've just always, at GM, we're almost 20 years ahead of the curve doing automobile design. So I was taught to think in 5 and 10 years in advance and to create certain things. So I have no difficulty whatsoever creating certain pieces of imagination or creating things from scratch. So that's all. There's sometimes a reference if I have to do a commission piece for an individual, yes, which I do take commissions, but for the most part, I'm just creating as I go. So, and I think the more you begin to work around it, the stronger you're going to get with it as well. Ladislas. So let's see, Chip's got a comment here. It's basically putting shapes together and seeing what works until. Yep, that's exactly right. It's just an old-fashioned experience. So let me just kind of tune into the sketch here just a bit here, guys. A little bit more tune, some line weight back in this thing. A little bit lost. A little bit of tone in through here. Show that the surface kicks back just a bit. Again, same thing here. This guy tips back just a little bit. We'll let it fade just a touch. Line work. A little offset here. And this rolls over, and just a little bit of, again, same process. Get a little bit of this concept here to just kind of put a little bit more, some warmth into these guys. And a little bit of highlight there, a bit of highlight inside this crown. Across that radius. A little bit of highlight across to this piece, and just a touch on the body side there to kind of give it more, a little bit of a curse. There we are. And let's get that eraser back out and pick up what we've lost. Great thing about pastel. Right back to neutral and neutral. A little more detail up on top here, guys. Probably more than the. A little more line weight change here. there you go. There's that first study in place. Hope we'll get that out of the way here. What do you think, guys? There's that first. That could be pretty monumental looking, I think. That's what do you think? The doc went through a few pencils over there. Yeah. Not only that, Chip, I think I've destroyed a lot of trees in my lifetime as well. So, I mean, I do some digital work, obviously, but most of my client base, they always want the hands-on stuff here. So, it's a very, very, the scale here could be very big, and I'm not saying it's, I think we opened it up a little bit here, Chip, or maybe some packaging pieces and so forth that might have to go into these things. As we go down the line here, we're going to explore it further and further as we go through it all here. Let's kind of switch gears here. Ready to go over here. See what happens if we go horizontal and slim it down just a bit. Again, variations on theme. Pardon me as I turn this just a bit. Again, same process. Very long horizontal cooling system here. Recessed. And through here. Same process. Real lucid sketches. Again, recess. We'll tighten down as we go here. We better offset there. Again, just a real, let me turn this upside down. Take some of the hollow out of this lower line here. There we are. Let's get this detail in place here. There we are. What do you think, guys? Let's kind of get this thing to and let's just go back here. We go back and finish up another sketch here. We'll go back and render as we go. How's that, guys? Here's a horizontal piece. Just laying this whole thing down and maybe changing some of the character, keeping it very linear and so go either way, vertical or horizontal. So let's go back and pick up another variation here. Get the frame in place. That's last. Are you still there? If so, what do you think is this helping at all in terms of going through the process for you? I certainly hope that we're doing some neat stuff. Oh, neat. Could you be used as a pen? Yeah, as a desk. Yeah, either way, that's kind of neat. So we're going horizontal, but Ladislas, if you're out there, let me know if this has been of some help to you. I really appreciate you coming on board here and being part of the process. So keep me posted here as we go. Let's go down the line here. We'll get this guy blocked in. Let's go back to that same theme again. We'll kind of truncate these intake pieces just a bit. Let's get these guys lined up. Drive these back just a bit. Let's drop it off again. Let's do that too. That's kind of a neat little trick. Take some of the weight out of this thing here, Chip. There we are. Let's do the same thing on the base of this thing. Let's kick that back, drop this in, and create a little bit more a table here. Just kind of a little bit of simple stand here. There we are, guys. That's a pretty rough little sketch. Again, variation on theme, looking at the three pieces that we're looking at the two pieces we were selecting at the beginning of the stream in terms of where are we going to take this thing, how are we going to refine it just a little bit. So we're going to go back in and just add some more definition to this thing. A bit of recess. A little bit of tone. Now, there it is. There's a sketch here, guys. So there you are. There's three variations there. Chip, let's see. Yeah, that's cool looking. I'm seeing some 60s Chevrolet, really. That's it, true. So, based on that, again, still waiting. Ladislaus, if you're there, let me know if this has been of help to you and if I can answer any questions you've got as I go through the process here. And Chip, really appreciate the input. And it's very, very helpful to have you on board here to take care of some things for us. They're really cool. So let me go back while we're waiting here for some feedback. To go back in and let's kind of stain in both these sketches and get it all. We call it a wrap. How's that, guys? Fun stuff. Goes there. One there. We are there. Let's get a little bit of the tone in there. The recess area read. There we go. So some of this venting work to kind of kick in for us just a bit. And just for what it's worth, let's add a little bit of a color strap here. Let's get that in place.
doesn't matter. It's me. It's like a sale. No. Oh, you.
And just a touch of this going down that body side. We'll keep that pretty compatible. There you are. So there's a little bit of again, another bit of just a bit of a mystery piece here. And we take this center portion, include it just a bit. And you know what? This is going to be neat. We're just going to show a little bit of that going, that wrap around there. There it is. And then on the lower. So there it is. So we've got just a touch of color in this thing to give a little bit more empire to it. And that's it. Yeah, that's looking good. It's an interesting little simple form here. Just a variation on theme. Let's put a bit of hot spot up on top of this guy. And run it right through here. Back in here. Lost my eraser. Oh, it's back here. Got it. Get that color band back. A little bit of highlight there. And again, what do you think? Eh? There's a couple of variations on theme here. Just looking at the possibilities of going with the horizontal cooling system here. I'm not a fan of the colors. Wasn't a fan of the colors at first, but they're growing. Oh yeah, the colors are. Yeah, I'm just taking. I think the green's kind of neat, but I just kind of switch gears to orange chip to see how we're working with this thing. And once again, Ladislas, let me know how you're doing out there, and if I can be of any assistance or closing things up here for you, please let me know. All right, we're more than happy to get some things squared away here, making sure you're not behind the eight ball, and I'm really happy that you joined us here today. So let's wrap this thing up here. Let's get a bit of color in this guy. Real fast. Simple concept sketches, just enough to keep us moving here, guys. Let me turn this around just for a second here. One thing about newsprint, you have to be careful of it. There's bleeds like mad. So you have to be very delicate on the touch in some areas and not so much in the other. So really interesting how this whole thing comes together here, guys. Let's do this. A little bit of color banding. Keeping it pretty simple here. A bit of color in here. Just a touch of that coming through here. Just a bit of it there. And again, just a touch of shadow in there to kind of give it some definition. There we are there. Let's get this lower in place. And a couple little studies there, guys. Here we are. How about that? Just putting all pieces together. It's all up to you all. So there's a good chance we will pick a case and actually get it built. If it doesn't go well, we're going to do it. Yay, Lattice. Nice. Good to have you on board here. Neat. Yeah, that's interesting. It's very, let's put a little bit of tone in this thing to kind of take it off dead center here. A little bit of Christmas in this guy. A little bit of hot spot across the front end. A little more warmth in this guy, just a bit. Get that to work just a touch. And we'll move some of that out of the way. Get this moving here. Well, I hope that reads on screen all right there, guys, without putting too much in. Oh, yeah, that comes out pretty nicely. So let's just, what do you think overall? I mean, there are two variations on theme here. Got to eat. Lattice, thanks for letting me know. I went to get some food. Yeah, hey, very good. Lattice, I have a question for you here. If you're back on board with us, I hope this has been of some help to you, and I really want to thank you for taking the time to join us here today. Really been interesting to have you on board, and really looking forward to building a relationship with you and your associates. Please let them know that we're on board all the time here. It'd be kind of cool to have you part of the process. Let's kind of frame this guy in just a bit, a little bit of reference to it. There we are. And there we go. So there's a couple of passes out of here, guys, in terms of really think that is important. Love the air vents idea. Yeah, it's just a whole idea of just having a real big exhaust system in there, a draw system in there, guys, to work with here. So very interesting. I think it's important. Thanks for letting me know. Let's see, of course, gotta eat. There we are, Lattice. The right one reminds me of a spaceship from Star Wars. Oh, yeah, interesting. Yeah, that does it, the vertical wing piece. But more importantly, Lattice, I hope it has been, this has been helpful to you as we go through the process. I don't want to rush through too much information here, but I really want you to know that I'm really pleased that you're on board here, and I hope we kind of generate some interest with your friends. I'd love to have you guys join my audience. We have a lot of fun day to day as we go through each stream as we go here. So any comments at all, Lattice, in closing here? I'm going to go back and do a little bit of review for us, and we'll take it from there. Anybody, any comments at all? Please feel free, fire away. Looking forward to it, guys. This has been fun, a lot of fun. War missiles. We'll have to work that in somehow, Chip. We'll have to put like a carrier someplace and put these pieces in part for us here. That's kind of cool. That works well as a desktop. Yeah, that would be kind of a neat desktop. That's neat. I mean, I'm still looking at proportion changes. I do realize we have to do a lot of fitting and packaging, for example, with things that are out there. For example, again, power supply, motherboards, cooling systems, and video cases and so forth, the video cards and the like. It's all part of the process here, but I think we've got some good input here to kind of work with, and I hope you've enjoyed this. I mean, I really have. Let's go back to phase one. Here's the first pass of sketches we did. In fact, let's go through a real quick review. So what happened was, this is going back to yesterday's stream for you, Ladislas. Started here. Just some real good little sketches based on looking at revising the PC case itself. Conceptual, just pure conceptual ideas. So there was page one we did yesterday. And we moved from that into page two, which we opened up a little bit more, some interesting, more geometric pieces, very, very sheer in terms of packaging. Try to bulk. We might have to bulk these guys up a bit if we have to build them, but that's the one. That's the one I think we could. That was another phase we did yesterday, and then we started today with the variation on theme based on this guy right here. This is the one we felt. This was the two we selected were this variation and that variation. So this first pass is on variation one, looking at the actual piece itself and one part of the process, and the second one is this one, where we came right back in, and there we are with the second piece going horizontal with, again, the very long, thin vented piece. So the variations on theme here, again, could totally work. Let's see, where am I here? Entertainment to the top right. I'll get which again, Chad. I'm sorry. Which one are you referring to? I'm sorry. Love all these. Actually, Nora missiles. Top right is very functional. Top right. This one here, this upper right. That's interesting. Yeah, for the entertainment PC. Cool. Very interesting. So that's good. This has been a real good hearty exercise, and I really love the interface and interchange of ideas here. This is great. That's what it takes to have a lot of fun with this, and again, make an impact on what you're trying to generate in developing ideas. So again, so thankful for all of you tuning in here today, and I think there was a bunch of questions here from Shadow where we totally would work. I love these even again totally work. This one, win the entertainment PC. We'll chat before your next one. Yeah, let's do that. We'll get together and kind of connect dots on this thing. Anyone else? Any faves? Anything you'd like to see in a PC case? Feel free to just open up a little bit. Any closing commentary from those of you who are available here? Super. Really glad you've hung on here. It's been running a lot of fun. Anything at all? Other than, yeah, other than Chip's rockets. That we can incorporate as a military piece, Chip. That'd be kind of fun. Well, I guess if that's the case, we'll just take some survey work here on the inside, and Ladislas, very good. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us. Thank you so much for taking the time, Ladislas. Good to have you on board with us. And again, I'll be on stream. I'll be live tomorrow again at 2:30 to 3:30, and looking forward to a lot of input. And we'll do some review work in-house or look at some things as we go. But I just want to make a point here. If Ladislas, if you're interested in looking at some basic drawing elements, please go to my website at drcontrast.com. You'll find some lesson plans there on basic drawing skills. And if you have anything you want me to work on, feel free to drop me a note at jim@drcontrast.com. I'm more than happy to do that, and those two things I think are essential. And boy, again, if you're looking for just basic drawing skills, I've got 9 lessons on the drcontrast.com piece, and I've also got a bookstore with all kinds of drawings, the new drawing book added, some print work and the like. So it's all out there, and I just really want to take a moment to thank all of you for tuning in. Great fun in the PC case process here, and we'll have some judgment, I'm sure, for the end of the day, and we'll get right back at it and kind of tune in some final stuff here based on the input from you all. And I always end this whole process of streaming and going live with a very simple comment that comes right from my heart. And I really believe, I sincerely believe with this all my heart, never forget to remember to dare to be great, because you are. Have a great day, gang. All the very best, and thanks so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye now.